A massive labyrinth. Bright lights, cameras capturing every step. It was supposed to be a show, the kind where people could win millions of dollars if they reached the end. Contestants laughed, joked, and were sure it was just a game. But he knew the truth, it was a trap. He hadn't been invited here by chance. Behind the dazzling decorations hid someone who had been waiting for revenge for a long time. And now, every twist and turn of the maze had been designed to humiliate, frighten, and break him. He walked forward in silence, his face serious. He wasn't afraid. Because even though this was someone else's plan for revenge, he had already decided. Only one winner would leave this labyrinth. The maze towered over them like a living beast. The walls were 20 feet high, smooth concrete painted in blinding white and illuminated by rows of fluorescent lights that hummed quietly above. Cameras perched on top of nearly every corner, their little red lights blinking. The contestants craned their necks, some laughing nervously, others flexing as if ready for a game show challenge. They all thought it was entertainment. A man in a bright suit had welcomed them at the entrance. He smiled, cracked jokes, and promised $1 million to whoever reaches the exit first. It's all fun and fair, no tricks, no danger. He spoke with the tone of a seasoned host. But for one contestant, Alex, the whole performance rang false. He had been forced here, tricked into signing up by someone he didn't see but could feel. The invitation that came to his door wasn't random. It was written with malice. Alex's jaw was tight as the gates slammed shut behind them. A metallic clang echoed through the air. Suddenly, the host's voice boomed over hidden speakers. Welcome to the labyrinth of fortune. Only the smartest, the bravest, and the strongest will reach the end. The rest of you, well, let's just say you'll regret stepping inside. The contestants chuckled uneasily. Some thought it was just part of the theatrics. But Alex's gut twisted. That voice wasn't just showmanship. It dripped with venom. The group of 20 spread into the maze. Each corridor looked identical, sterile walls, polished floors, fluorescent glare. The sameness gnawed at the mind. Almost immediately the traps began. A cheerful blonde named Sarah skipped ahead and screamed when the floor beneath her tilted. She slid down a hidden slope, disappearing into darkness. A moment later, her shrill cry was cut off by a splash of water echoing far away. The speakers crackled with laughter. Oops. Looks like Sarah took the fast lane. Will she make it back? Stay tuned. The others froze, faces pale. That wasn't funny anymore. Alex clenched his fists. He had no love for the others, but the cruelty confirmed his suspicion. This labyrinth wasn't about money. It was about torment. He moved carefully, studying the walls. There were scratches, deep grooves carved by fingernails. Someone had tried to claw their way out. This maze wasn't built yesterday. It had history. As they turned deeper into the structure, alliances began to form. Two muscular brothers stuck together, swearing they would bulldoze through any obstacles. A clever-looking student scribbled notes on scraps of paper, mapping their path. Others simply wandered, hoping luck would favor them. But Alex stayed alone. He didn't trust anyone. He knew how easily fear turned allies into enemies. Half an hour in, the corridors shifted. Literally. The floor trembled, walls groaned, and entire passages rotated on hidden gears. A shriek rose from the group as the contestants were split apart. Alex suddenly found himself in total silence, cut off from everyone else. He exhaled slowly. So this is how you want to play, he muttered. The lights above flickered. The host's voice returned, calm but cruel. Still with us, Alex? Don't look so grim. You've been chosen. Every corner, every trap, every surprise here is for you. You think you're the hunter, but tonight, you're the prey. Alex froze. The voice knew his name. This wasn't random after all. He pressed forward. The first challenge awaited. A corridor narrowed until it ended at a glass wall. Behind the transparent barrier was a room filled with mannequins dressed like surgeons, their plastic eyes staring blankly. In the center of the room lay a hospital bed. Alex's chest tightened. Memories surged back. Years ago, his younger brother had died during surgery. The lead doctor had dismissed Alex's questions, laughed at his accusations. And standing behind that doctor had been a man with the same voice he heard now. This maze wasn't built for entertainment. It was built to punish Alex with his own past. The glass door slid open with a hiss. A distorted laugh echoed inside. Step in, Alex. Let's see if you still blame me for your brother's death. His knuckles whitened. Now he knew who orchestrated this. Dr. Harlan, the surgeon who had failed his brother. Somehow, the man had created this grotesque game. And now he wanted Alex broken. Alex stepped inside without hesitation. The mannequins loomed around him, scalpels and masks in their rigid hands. The bed in the center wasn't empty anymore. A screen flickered above it, showing live footage of Sarah, the blonde contestant who had fallen earlier. She was trapped in a tank of rising water, pounding on the glass. "Save her," the voice taunted, "or keep going. Heroes waste time. Survivors win." Alex's pulse hammered. He could turn his back, win the million, escape the torment. But that would make him exactly what Harlan wanted. Selfish, cruel, broken. "No," Alex whispered. "Not this time." He sprinted to the side of the room, searching desperately. Behind one mannequin he found a lever. He yanked it down, the screen flickered, then showed Sarah's tank draining. She collapsed, coughing but alive. "Interesting," Harlan's voice sneered. "You still play the savior. Let's see how long that lasts." The mannequin's head slowly turned toward Alex. Their mechanical jaws creaked open. Metal scalpels dropped from their hands, clattering on the floor. Then one by one they began to move. Alex grabbed a scalpel, spun, and prepared to fight. To be continued? The labyrinth seemed endless. Its walls of steel and neon shimmered, and hidden speakers played soft music that somehow made every step feel more unsettling. The contestants tried to joke, tried to treat it like a game show. But after the first hour, the laughter died down. The maze was no longer just a spectacle. It was becoming a prison. Cameras followed everywhere. Drones buzzed above their heads, catching every moment of fear, every flicker of panic in their eyes. He walked at the front of the group, silent, analyzing. He counted the turns, memorized the layout, noted where the cameras lingered the longest. His instincts told him this wasn't about winning money. This was about breaking someone. And that someone was him. Suddenly the floor beneath them shifted. A section dropped, revealing a pit filled with icy water. One contestant slipped, screaming, and fell in. The walls of the pit instantly began to close. Without hesitation he leapt forward, grabbing the contestant's arm and hauling him out just in time. The pit sealed with a mechanical clang. The rescued man gasped for breath, shivering, thanking him. But he said nothing. His eyes searched the walls until he spotted it, a lens hidden behind a false panel. He stared directly into it, his jaw tightening. Whoever was watching, whoever had designed this, he wanted them to know he understood. Hours passed. The contestants were exhausted. Some sat on the ground, refusing to move. Others whispered about quitting, about giving up the prize money. That's when the announcement came. A deep, distorted voice echoed through the maze. "Only one of you will leave this labyrinth. The rest will stay here forever." Panic erupted. The group split, people running in different directions, shouting, sobbing. The cameras followed them like predators. He didn't run. He kept walking forward, steady, controlled. Fear was what the voice wanted, but he refused to give it. Turning a corner, he found a new chamber. This one wasn't empty. It was filled with mirrors, dozens of them, reflecting his face back at him again and again. And in the center, on a raised platform, sat a small box. He approached cautiously. Inside the box was a photo. His photo. From years ago. Smiling, standing next to a person he hadn't seen in years. Someone he had once betrayed, even if he had tried to forget it. Now he understood. This wasn't random. This wasn't about money. The mastermind behind the labyrinth was here for revenge. For a moment the air felt heavy. Memories he thought were buried returned like blades. The humiliation, the anger, the consequences of his choices. But he didn't break. He clenched the photo in his fist, then dropped it on the ground. He stepped on it, crushing it beneath his boot, his eyes never leaving the nearest camera. "You think this maze will destroy me?" he whispered. "You're wrong. It will destroy you." And then he kept moving. Behind the walls, somewhere unseen, the mastermind watched. And for the first time they frowned. Because the game wasn't going the way they had planned. The labyrinth grew darker. The bright neon lights flickered, some going out completely. The walls seemed closer now, as if the entire maze itself was alive and slowly trying to suffocate anyone inside. The contestants who had once laughed and joked were gone, scattered, broken. Some were crying in corners, some were banging on walls, begging to be let out. The cameras drank in every tear, every scream. But he kept moving. Calm, focused. His steps echoed with purpose. At the next intersection, another trap sprung. Metal bars slammed down behind him, cutting him off from the others. The floor beneath his feet tilted, trying to throw him into a pit filled with blades. He didn't panic. Instead, he used the bars themselves, leaping and pulling himself across with pure strength until he landed safely on the other side. The cameras zoomed in on him. Every move he made, every choice was being broadcasted somewhere. And that gave him an idea. If this was all a show, then the mastermind was depending on the audience. On fear. On control. But what if he turned the audience against the one pulling the strings? Minutes later, he entered the heart of the labyrinth, a massive chamber with a throne-like chair at its center. On a towering screen above it, a masked figure appeared. Their voice was distorted, cold, filled with triumph. "You should have fallen by now," the voice said. "But it doesn't matter. Here is where the game ends. You will crawl, you will beg, and the world will watch." He stood there silently, staring up at the screen. Then slowly he began to laugh. It wasn't loud. It wasn't mocking. It was calm, terrifyingly calm. "You've made one mistake," he said, raising his head to look directly into the nearest camera. "You wanted the world to watch. Now they'll watch you lose." With that, he moved fast. He grabbed one of the mirrored panels from the previous corridor he had carried along, smashed it against the floor, and used the shard to jam open a maintenance hatch near the chamber wall. The masked figure froze, realizing too late that the labyrinth wasn't just a prison, it had weaknesses. He pulled wires, sparks flying, and the giant screen above began to glitch. For the first time, the distorted voice cracked, panicked. The audience watching, wherever they were, saw not a perfect game master but a desperate human being hiding behind broken machinery. "Stop!" the mastermind shouted. "You don't know what you're doing." "Oh, I do," he said, his voice steady. "You wanted revenge. But revenge belongs to me." With one final pull, the cameras across the maze turned, no longer showing the contestants suffering, but exposing the control room itself. The world saw the mastermind's face revealed, the hidden wires, the manipulation. Chaos erupted. The mastermind screamed as alarms blared. Guards rushed into the chamber, but by then he was ready. Using the very traps that had been designed for him, he lured them into pits, slammed them behind locked gates, turning the maze against its own creators. Step by step, he dismantled the illusion. The lights shut down. The screens went black. And finally, the giant doors at the far end of the labyrinth creaked open. He walked out into the night air, breathing deeply, his face calm. Behind him, the labyrinth smoldered, sparks flying, alarms still echoing. He hadn't just survived. He had won. And somewhere out there, every person who had watched the so-called show now knew the truth. The mastermind who wanted revenge was finished. But him? He was free. Stronger. Untouchable. Because in the end, the labyrinth wasn't their revenge. It was his.